Dolphins, Bills, I want to get your take on this before we really dive into the X's and O's. Do you think the weather will play as big of a role as everyone is talking about?
A little bit. It is kind of funny that the thing I saw floating around today was that the Dolphins, when they played it in
Yeah.
LA, had heaters by the bench when it was 55 degrees, and so they're going to be going out there. And the thing is that the Bills, keep in mind, like, they're more used to it.
Yeah.
But what's funny is, like, they're not like some incredible overpowering run team,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Overall,
Yeah.
so they're not necessarily built for it all that much either.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad opponent. It's just we're starting to see the Dolphins kind of come back to life a little bit because they were beating up on bad defenses for a while, and they were getting the best of a lot of the bounces too. Like, their defense isn't very good, and what's happening now is opponents have made a little bit of an adjustment. They're popping the receivers at the line. They're jamming them. And so the timing is all off from Tua and the receivers, and you can tell they haven't readjusted back to everyone's adjustment now. And now that's the question. Can they do it? I mean, Tua was 3 of 17 to start the game last week, and that was against a Chargers defense that isn't that good. And they're depleted, and they're banged up. So now playing their third consecutive road game, they had to go all the way from LA to Buffalo. But this is a massive game for them with the way they've been trending negatively and things getting a little bit competitive there at the back end of the AFC. So I don't know if I want to lay the number with the Bills. I would probably lean. I'm not a Dolphins fan at all. Like, I have been playing against them quite a bit throughout the year. I think they've been, and if they get into the playoffs, like, definitely a team I'll be playing against in a playoff spot. But this feels like a really good spot for them, because the Bills, they've quietly not been playing well because they've won.
I put this exactly in my notes. Despite a 4-game winning streak, it might be the most underwhelming 4-game winning streak I've ever witnessed.
Yep. They started last week with 5 consecutive punts in the game against the Jets. That game overall had 10 straight punts to start the game. And the Bills only had 3 first downs over the first 5 drives. And it actually was the first time since Josh Allen's 3rd career start where they went 5 straight drives, punt, consecutively. Then what happened? They scored 4 times in a row to open up a 20-7 lead.
Yeah.
Then they got a little cold again, and they went 3 and out 3 times in a row, and they gave the Jets a chance to get back in the game. The Jets ended up covering that game. They were down by 8 with a chance to go win the game, and Mike White got speared like Brock Lesnar. I don't even know how he was walking around. It was incredible.
And Zach Wilson, because of that spear, is going to be starting for the Jets when we talk about Lions-Jets later. But I think the 2 plays for this game, I'm with you on Dolphins +7. I'm also on the under here.
I agree.
Because of, one, they're calling from anywhere between like 2 and 10 inches of snow, which right there tells me there's not going to be a kicking game. So you're not going to get 3 points here, 3 points there. And extra points aren't even going to be a gimme. But also, the Bills have that that weird kind of hot and coldness where they may only score 14 points because they had 2 back-to-back drives where they looked absolutely dominant and then just are ice cold the rest of the game. And the Dolphins, on the other side, they've looked absolutely terrible, like you said, especially since they lost their left tackle, Terron Armstead. And I dug up this stat because I was like, Tua, according to EPA, expected points added, and CPOE, completion percentage over expectation, he's the 2nd best quarterback in the NFL right now behind Patrick Mahomes. You then look at the last 2 weeks where they've lost both games. The defenses have started to jam the receivers at the line, played more press coverage. He's dropped from 2nd in the NFL to 34th. I made doing all like the fun little things on the website. So of the quarterbacks who've taken 25 snaps or more over the last 2 weeks, there's 34 that have taken that many snaps. He is 34th.
Dead last.
He has been terrible these last 2 weeks.
And it's not. Look, he's played tougher opponents, but what's concerning about it is he's missing throws to open guys that he still should be making in those spots, right? When you go 28 of 61 in a 2-game stretch,
It's not good.
like it's on you a little bit too, even if it is your offensive line. And I agree with you. Like, I don't think these two teams are thought of as these powerhouse offenses, and they're not coming in flying on all cylinders. Hell, the Bills, last week, they were 2 of 13 on third down. They only had 233 total yards in that game. The Jets had more total yards. Jets were better on third down. Jets won the time of possession by almost 6 games. It was the fewest net yards for the Bills in any game this year by almost 100 yards. And the way these two teams are trending, I completely agree with you. I'm looking at it in a lowish kind of number that we think is going to be low scoring. I'd always take the dog, right? Especially when they're getting like 7.
Yeah. I mean, the Bills are going to if all things considered, if we think the under is going to hit, there's going to be a low scoring game. The Bills you're telling me will have to score like, I'm assuming the Dolphins will score at least 10 points. Yeah. So the Bills have to score more than 17 to cover. I just and that sounds like a really boring football game, which I think it has the makings to be.
Yeah, but think of the game with the Patriots a few years ago too, right? Like some of these games where you just cannot throw the ball. Yeah. Right? And then we can see early like, nobody like fantasy, it's the fantasy playoffs, right? Yeah. Right now too, starting for a lot of people, and a lot of people have like tons of guys from both of these teams.
Here's a hot take. If you can't throw the football, I trust Mike McDaniel and his run game scheming more than the Bills.
Completely agree.
If you're feeling like a unit or two that you just are itching to bet somewhere on a dog, maybe the Dolphins, I'm not saying this is a best bet, but if this game comes down to who has the better running attack, I'd put I think plus 230 money line is some good value on Miami there.
Yeah, I agree.